handling. Hi. Hi guys. Guess who's back again. Oi, oi. Tallulah's back from Penn. Joke. But hello.
Hello.
It's been like a year. Almost. Not a whole year, but it's been like almost a year.
Yeah.
This is not ADHD
God,
fashion.
that's gone so fast.
And it has.
Yeah.
This isn't like an ADHD inconsistency thing, but a bit. But we did say that we were going to do like one a month minimum. And we got to 2. And then here we are, a year later.
But we're back.
Exactly, we're back. And we're here to talk about our ADHD brain. And lots of different things have happened, which has caused lack of motivation, interest, and hope. I'm joking. We just wanted to... We missed each other anyway. We haven't seen each other, so we wanted to link up and wanted to catch up. And I think anyone with ADHD or with complex brain disorders of any kind, sounds so dread saying it like that, but will know that when you find someone that understands you, it is like a breath of fresh air just talking to them. Even if you're just catching up about normal things, the fact that you don't have to deeply, intensely explain yourself, you just go... It's like, it's just like, you're like,
makes
what
it so much
did they
easier.
do that because of... It's like... It's like, you know what I mean? You don't have to go, no, because what it was, and how they saw it. Tallulah the other day put up a post just asking if there's anything that anybody wants us to talk about. Like we did before with the Q&A. It's kind of like just leaving space for us to talk about stuff that you guys want to hear. So we're gonna try to... Well, we are going to touch on a few of them, innit? There are a few that we are going to touch on. If we don't bring up the one that you sent, we will in the next video, which won't be next year. It will be before Mental Health Awareness Week.
We'll be getting older and older. Every time you see us, it'll be
We're engaging though. God's preserving us. But we are committing, I'm saying this on camera, we're committing to doing this video before Mental Health Awareness Week. So this will be up before May. And then in May, we're going to do stuff.
Yeah.
I do this all the time, but I do feel like, you know when you draw your lip liner on so you can get the fullness of your lips? Yeah. I do feel like I've gone up to there. You know when people go, excuse me, we can see you've gone too far.
That is always me though.
No, but I do it, and I love it because it's like we get the most of it. But yeah,
mine's
cool.
like when I have no makeup on.
Just do the whole.
Where have your lips gone?
Yeah, no, mine's literally like sometimes it's like Penny.
Mine's like, do you have any lips without lip liner? No.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna catch up and just tell you guys. We've had a little catch up, but we kept just saying that we'll talk about this on camera because, yeah, ADHD is a journey. We've both been diagnosed late. We've both been diagnosed fairly recently. And you lot probably thought that we had it all together and we were like, oh, ADHD, advice girls. Like, trying to... And nah, like, it hasn't worked out like that. We are fully still going through it. We're fully still learning about it and uncomfortable with a lot of the stuff that we're doing and thinking. So, yeah, we're going to tell you guys where we've been at on our ADHD journeys. And then, yeah, we'll try and tackle some of your questions. Hopefully this isn't 12 hours long. So the last time we spoke... or one of the times we spoke, we were both kind of excited a bit about talking about ADHD because of how hard it can be. You had talked about your experience with medication and your experience with interacting with people, something that I weren't ready to talk about. Remember, Tallulah, as you lot might know, but Tallulah knows a lot. The reason me and Tallulah bonded online is because the first DM that grabbed me, should I say, was when she spoke about interacting with someone, like interacting in relationships. Now, I still up to this day haven't done any thorough research about ADHD relationships because of the fear attached, because a lot of my relationships aren't how I want them to be or haven't gone how I want them to be. Not just romantic ones, like friendships
just
and then just hear like, and I'm thinking it's because I've got issues, which obviously we all do, but when you mentioned that something that ADHD could be playing a part, I was like, I ain't ready for this. Do you know what I mean? But so Tallulah's she's very self-aware. And we were talking about medication and we were talking about just the ways that ADHD is manifested throughout, like trying to be a normal teen and young lady. But what's been happening in your life in the past year? Like what's going on? How are you dealing with
taking
ADHD?
I still take medication.
What one is it again?
So I take Liftexamphetamine and now...
Is that Elvan's?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what one?
So I'm now taking... Well, I get a prescription of 50 milligram, 30 milligram, and 20.
Okay.
And I basically can take anything between those, depending on what it is I've got to do. So if I have loads to do that day and I really need to be focused, take in a 50. If it is just a day when I don't have loads to do, then just take in a 20 milligram.
Or 30. So is there a day where you don't take any?
There are some days, but to be honest, at the moment, recently, I've had loads of like changes in my life and been working on a lot of different things. So I have been taking them every day. But obviously, the only downfall to that is that you do build up a tolerance.
So then it stops working a little bit.
So it stops feeling like as effective. But I was thinking about it the other day, and like, to be honest, you know, because a lot of the questions I was saying to Penny that I received were ones people asking about how they could deal with ADHD without medication. And, you know, even like we were saying, it is, even though we talk about it and we're open about it, it is really hard sometimes. And I realised recently, on days when I don't take my medication, emotionally, I can't deal with my emotions anywhere near as well as I can when I do take medication.
That's something then we can probably think about a little bit, because I'm managing my ADHD without medication, and you're actually actively taking medication. So those are the questions that I could probably answer. I can't remember if it was better of us looking there, or was it, what were we doing?
I guess like a mixture.
Mixture, yeah. So because medications come up, I think it is important to talk about it, because as Tallulah said, she had questions from people asking about how to manage ADHD without medication. Now, as you lot remember, as I mentioned before, Tallulah was talking about the medication that she was on, which led me to, when my doctors have told me that the only thing that can help me is medication. Talking therapy won't help, CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy won't help. So I was taking the natural route. And because I was trying to push to get extra treatment as well, and Tallulah seemed fine to me, which you are still fine, which my fears of ADHD medication were eradicated hearing that and seeing you how you were. I tried ADHD medication, the same one you said, Elvans, that's how I knew its nickname. And I found, I'd done it for 2 weeks, and every single day was so different, I couldn't do it. And I think, I won't go off on a tangent too much, because I want to hear about your experience in more detail. But when I tried the medication, and I had days where it made me really productive, and then days where it made me really anxious, and days where it literally, I'd be fine, and I'd think, okay, I've got loads to do today, because I remember you saying you didn't have to take it every day if you didn't want to. So I'd think, I've got loads to do today, let me take it. And I would take it, and I was feeling fairly okay, and all of a sudden I'd be flooded with all these scary thoughts. Like it would trigger intrusive thoughts. Part of the reason that I stopped is because my doctor identified that when I got diagnosed with ADHD, I also got told I was suffering with trauma. But what I saw was a doctor dismissing the ADHD to talk about the fact that I've had a traumatic childhood, and like just wanting to change the subject. And because I know about the stigma around doctors and ADHD, I was like, look, I know I've had a traumatic childhood. You don't have to tell me that. You don't have to remind me of the things I've told you. But the ADHD is the thing that's blocking my life, so we need to talk about that. And he was like, no, we need to talk about the trauma, because that's, rooted, and we can get rid of that. You can't get rid of ADHD. So I was just completely like, I don't want to talk about bad things. I don't want to talk about my mum. I don't want to talk about sad things. I want to deal with this thing that's making me unable to be my best self. Completely blocked it out. Now, when I tried that medication, we were talking about it earlier, part of the reason why it probably failed on me is not only did it trigger so much anxiety, but some of the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, which I've now been diagnosed with, are similar to ADHD. So I was having some form of chemical weird balance.
Well, I think probably as well, if you thought that, this is meant to just work, and then it wasn't working, it's going to make you feel even more anxious. So if there's then still the symptoms of the post-traumatic stress stuff, and you're like, I've taken this medication, why do I not feel better? Or like, why do I not feel together? And then you've got those symptoms are probably going to be like even more highlighted.
It's true. And it is like some of the things that I read about were so similar to ADHD. Sorry, went off on a bit of a tangent then, but conversation triggers conversation. So yeah, have you, you take different strengths or different dosages?
Yeah, I was on
dependent?
the highest dose for a while.
Which was
70 milligrams.
really.
But the thing is, it's
What does that feel like? Only because I've tried 50.
for me.
I'm like,
Honestly, I thought like every day I felt amazing, as in like I felt really together. I felt like I could really organise my life well. I felt really happy, but it's a strong medication. And obviously, you have to be prescribed by a doctor and whatever. But there are other factors because it does speed up your heart.
yeah.
And so my
And
heart
it's a
rate.
stimulant.
Yeah, so my heart rate was too fast every day. So if it was just about how I felt, as in like mentally how I felt, then I would have stayed on that dose. But
Okay.
physically, I wasn't allowed. People always ask like, if I'm different with them, or if they like numb emotions or like numb feelings and stuff. Like I think a lot of people assume that with antidepressants and stuff. And I've never had that, but then I did kind of realise the other day, on a day when I hadn't taken one, and it was the first time for ages that I hadn't taken one, and things that I normally wouldn't kind of be emotional about, or if I did.
What do you mean by be emotional about? Because
So, like,
I'm not going to lie, I am going, like, there's a symptom of ADHD called emotional dysregulation.
Yeah, I
I'm
have that
definitely
like,
experiencing
massively.
it.
Yeah.
I'm going through it like mad at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, I could feel, I didn't want to go into it. But what do you mean when you say you take the medication and you're fine, and then on one day you can't
So like
regulate?
overall, I'm really bad at regulating my emotions. So where like say
An example?
So if I went to a meeting and it was like a serious meeting and I had important things I wanted to get across, beforehand I'd probably go to myself, right, well make sure you don't get upset or emotional in this, because you want to be professional and you want to let people know what you think and articulate and whatever. And then if something didn't go the way I wanted it to, I could just burst into tears in that meeting in front of whoever was there then and there. You know, or
because of what you're feeling inside,
yeah,
the pressure.
or like I've been at family dinners and, you know, like I'm a full grown woman, but if someone said the wrong thing to me, that's it. Like
See,
I'm
mine
bursting
doesn't
into tears.
Yeah.
Have to go to the bathroom. It's a big scene, and obviously then everyone's like pissed off and whatever because Tallulah's made a scene again. But I just cannot. I can't control if that's how I feel at that time. That's it's coming out.
Because mine, and that is something that, sorry to do this, but people say it's very ADHD.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't say that that's emotional dysregulation. They wouldn't know what it was, just like making a scene.
Yeah.
See, mine wouldn't be like that. Like my emotional dysregulation, this is where personalities differ as well, and different like parts of the brain are being triggered, I guess.
Yeah.
But mine would be very inner,
right,
very self-doubty, very insecure, intrusive thoughts, 73 miles per hour overthinking.
Right, yeah.
So mine would never manifest outwardly.
Outwardly, see,
never.
mine always is complete. Like, if it's
and it's the same thing we're talking about. Imagine that.
Yeah,
we're both talking about
anything like that. Like, you know, we were talking earlier about like the feelings of like if you're embarrassed or if you feel guilty or things like that, and like any of those, like I just can't.
So in an instance where you would feel that, so earlier on, me and Tallulah were talking about the fact that when I get embarrassed or guilty, it turns into anger.
Yeah.
Your one turns into tears.
To tears, and I guess probably like slightly angry, but also just well over emotional.
Yeah.
Like,
so maybe high emotion just manifests out.
Well, I mean, like,
but then I did say it as well. I don't cry often. I don't cry often, and I want to.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel like I've got a cry locked in me that just won't come out.
It as a grown woman, there are certain situations that like
shouldn't.
it's not appropriate for me to be like at. You know, my ex-boyfriend. I remember like this was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me. But like it was, I didn't really know his family like that well, like not his extended family. And it was like one of their like weddings. I can't remember even saying this story, but one of their weddings. Anyway, like just so happened that the chair that I sat on whilst they were doing the speeches, so it's like quiet. They're doing the speeches, whatever. And so I'm sat in this chair, and the chair just like collapsed. But like I guess like somebody else who could like regulate their emotions or whatever would laugh it off.
Or like go like, oh.
Yeah, and just sit back down, find another chair.
Yeah.
I burst into tears. I stormed out of there. I was like, just going completely off on one. Like made it about something that wasn't, like bringing up all these different other random things, because I just couldn't deal with the fact that like in that situation I was
you had no control.
embarrassed. Yeah, I had no control of it, and I was embarrassed. And yeah, there's just so many situations that I feel like, especially even on medication, but especially without it, I can't.
So with medication, if you're taking medication all the time, does that not happen as much?
No, it doesn't happen anywhere near as much, but it happens. I notice it more than when I don't take it.
Okay.
Because it is one of those things where, like, I've never thought about ADHD medication as something like covers something up, because it isn't something you can deal with and get over. It isn't like, say with depression, if you take antidepressants, which I do think some people, if you need to do that at that time, that's the right thing to do. But there are other ways of working through depression, because it isn't something that necessarily you'll have forever.
Yeah.
But because with ADHD you're just going to have it forever, I always think, oh, well, it's fine then, because it's not another way around it. I might as well just take medication.
Yeah.
But then when I don't, I do think, oh wow, like, I haven't acted like this for ages.
Yeah.
Because something else has been.
Yeah. So it's almost, again, that feeling of feeling like you're not enough. Because you would be a better person if you had something extra. You know what I mean? It's like,
and it's become even a thing, you know, like, I guess like a jokey thing, but when I had the interview the other day, 2 of my friends text me saying, like, remember, because I always forget to take a tablet anyway in the morning.
Yeah.
And then that'll throw my day off.
But yeah, so it's like,
saying, remember to take your tablet.
Yeah, so it's not even it's not like you're not enough in a bad way. It's like make sure, like, people have alarms for their meds.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. But then in saying that, we do know, obviously everyone's got different brains, just like different personality types and stuff. But there is that side, which I'm dealing with, where no medication.
Yeah.
So I'm literally tried before. So there are ways you can manage your ADHD without medication. And this was because before I met Tallulah, I was totally against medication. I just thought mental health medication is mad. Like, I've clearly had mental health issues all my life, and I've done all right. Yeah. Now, these medications I take, they're going to make them literally straight jacket me up. Like, because I will act. I just, you know, you see people in films, like, looking all mad in the corner. It's like, oh, she's on her meds. So, the TV we watch, you know, but because of stuff like that, I was just so against it. I thought, you know what, there are great things about ADHD, and I don't want the medication taking them away. But, so I learned how to manage ADHD naturally, but got bored of it and got inconsistent. So the ways that I did it were, I stopped eating animal products, which is the best diet for our mental health is a plant-based. So I just tried to cut out as many animal products as I could. I started using CBD products. I started using lots of herbal oils. These are all ways you can manage your ADHD naturally. Like, there's loads of science to it, and that'll be a totally different video, but I've got blog posts I can share. But, like, you know, inhaling certain oils, essential oils, going for walks, doing exercise, getting your energy out in different ways. Supplements, there's a lot I take.
Yeah,
like,
there's
I take loads.
Really?
I can go and get them in a minute if you want. But I take loads of supplements at the moment, and like, I think that's why when I was saying to you, I feel like I'm coming back up again, like, for having a little bit of a downtime. I forgot to even mention that it could be because Joff told me about these omega-3 tablets, and I've mixed them with loads of others. Yeah. And do you know what I mean? But yeah, so there are loads of ways that you can manage your ADHD naturally.
I do think that I should think about
little
other ways
to
do that, because obviously one day I want to be a mum, and I rely so much on my medication. And obviously a whole nother thing, but like hormones and ADHD is just a whole nother thing. But so obviously I can't take medication when you're pregnant or when you're breastfeeding. Yeah. So like, to me, because I rely on medication so much, the thought of like being pregnant and having all those hormones and also not being able to take medication is like wild. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to be like. Yeah. You're
going to have to start having, like, doing certain things, but you don't eat meat, so that's good. But I burped from over there. I went out the room, okay? Yeah, so you don't eat meat, which is good. That's a nice tone, I feel again. Is that because of your boyfriend?
No, I wrote a song called I Feel Again.
Oh, but did you write it because of him? No, I'm joking.
No, it's actually
She's in love.
I am in love.
But, yeah. Yeah, so so that you can experience a life not relying on your meds. I think you do need to experiment with committing to certain things. So supplements.
Yeah.
Taking them all the time, so that like even with your medication, taking them and going on lower doses, and because you know supplements can take like 2 weeks to start showing up. Whereas these tablets take 2 minutes, 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So taking supplements, and after 2 weeks saying, okay, I've been taking my supplements for 2 weeks. Let me try weaker medication and stuff, so that you can get used to, even if you are different, you can get used to the person you are without your meds. And not see it as a deficit. Tell us about a day where medications are just doing the best for you. Like, what would be the main things you'd notice?
Well, so I always,
apart from your emotions being great.
I mean, that is, I'd say that's the thing that's the biggest difference. Anyone who even my mum or whatever, like, who knows me really well and who spends a lot of time with me, the only way they'd probably know if I had taken a tablet or hadn't would be my emotions. Like, I'm a lot like snappier without, or a lot more easily offended or things like that. But I guess like every morning anyway.
This is just so unfair that these things, even me, I'm snappy and easily offended at the moment. And it's probably because my body's just crying for some, what is it that we're missing? Dopamine. Crying for some dopamine. Everything I'm seeing, like, they hate me.
Because one of the parts of ADHD anyway is what's it called? Like basically where you take
rejection sensitive dysphoria. Basically.
I have that to like next level.
I think they started that because of me. I think they called it a thing because of me. Like, I am rejection sensitive dysphoria.
Mine's the worst, like, if like I've made something, if anyone gives their opinion but it's not an opinion I want to hear, like if I've made something, someone goes, oh, you could maybe change this, oh my god, like I literally think that they hate my work. They hate everything I've done. They don't rate me
know why you've
at
got
all.
a platform. Like, who smuggled her in? I think we could turn this a bit, you know. It might change the dynamics, but I feel like you seem a bit far away. Wait. Did a squeak just started happening, or was that a part of my ear?
I think it might be my ear.
No, but can you hear that? It's like a whistling. Nah, I'm having a moment and I... Can you hear that, like, low growl? Excuse me. If you don't have a lot to do, is there any point taking your medication? If you're on your own and no one's going to be affected by your emotions, and you haven't got much to do, you could just chill at home. Would you still take it?
No, I wouldn't. It's only if I've got like things to do, I'm like going to be around people and I'm doing stuff. But still, like, even if it was just like I had, say even the house was like a complete mess and I woke up and I was like, right, well, I've got nothing to do today, so I'm going to like tidy. But I'd probably then like find some other like, I'll decide to like reorganise my makeup drawer for like 7 hours instead, or something like that, and then nothing would get tidied. And then I would probably realise like, oh, like I haven't like even got in the shower, and it's like 5 p.m. now.
And it's gone so quick. Another thing that I've been learning about ADHD, because we are still learning, and even when we did our last video, we're both very new to it, is this ridiculous judge of time.
Like ridiculous.
I don't mean being late only, guys. That is the tip of the iceberg to what I'm talking about. I mean, thinking that sending an email will take 8 hours, so planning to do it on the weekend.
Literally.
When it takes 3 seconds, like all you have to say is, that's fine.
You know, that's so weird, because I put off an email. Well, so I received it 8 days ago, and it was like quite an important email.
Sorry,
and I put it off and off and off because, and every day I put it on my list, replied to that email, and every day I hadn't done it because I've been like, but it's like a big job.
It's a big job. Gotta go so in depth.
And then today I literally psyched myself up for about half an hour before doing it. I was like, I need to just get this done. I've got to just do it. Took 3 minutes.
I do it all the time. What is wrong? And also, and then the other side where I just think, I've woken up at say 6 o'clock. I've got to leave at 8. I've got loads of time because I'm so organised these days, and I always wake up early. So I just watched a documentary. Why not? I've got loads of time. I just want to be awake. I'm not in a rush. And when I've got 15 minutes left to be at the station, I believe I can start getting ready. Oh yeah. Well, you know what? I'll have a shower now, brushing my teeth and all that out of the way, and then I'll just get back into bed and watch something.
Yeah.
Because it only takes me 5 minutes to drag on my clothes. I barely need to do anything to my hair. I'll do my makeup on the train.
That is literally so
an hour late.
Yeah.
I'm an hour late to somewhere where I was planning to arrive early just so I could calm down before meeting anyone.
But usually that happens to me if I've got even, like, the more time I've got, the more likely it is I'm going to be late.
Yeah.
Like, if I've
But it's
only
still
got,
that fact that we cannot judge time. Like, we think something short, we think something that takes a small amount of time is going to be
it's
long,
gonna be,
and we think that something that is actually lengthy is going to be quick. Like, oh, just before I leave, I'll wash the dishes.
Yeah.
You got bare dishes.
Yeah.
You can't just do that before you're leaving.
Yeah. But I think as well that's like a thing of like, when something is like a last minute thing and I've got to do it, I'll do it and I can do it well. But if I know that I've got however long, it will be left to the last minute and it will be done in like a panic hurry. I feel like even with like if I'm going somewhere, it's better if I'm going there from somewhere else. I've been somewhere else before that, so I've got no option to like procrastinate, no option to get distracted and think that I can do
just
whatever.
go home for a little relax or a drink. I'll go home for a drink. 4 hours later, everyone's left the venue, hun.
The worst is though I can't watch anything in the morning because I can't watch one episode of anything.
Okay.
Like I have to then watch like 20, and so it's like.
I rewind the same one over and over again because there's no way I can't concentrate. Even if I love it, I can't concentrate. So
I hyperfocus on television. Like I literally love television.
So that's your
so
thing. I
much.
can't. People keep telling me to watch. Actually, I watched. Is it Good Time Charlie? Idris Elba's Netflix.
Oh, the new thing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
See, they all wear colourful clothes in that. Like, it's like
really?
a big holiday, yeah. So it's like loads of colours, loads of beach clothes. So I just had the whole series on in the background while I was doing stuff that day. And I was like, so I was like, you seen Fun Time Charlie? I was like, yeah, sick. And all I saw was flashing colours and tie-dye. And I was like, what actually happens in that show? Like, I've just watched, I binge watched Idris Elba. Okay, what one? And I was like, I don't know, but he's got a pink t-shirt on. And a green one. And a black one. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can I clearly can't hyperfocus on TV. TV is what I have on in the background so I can hyperfocus on something else.
Yeah.
Like, it's the thing that keeps my brain from drifting. Yeah. Alright, yeah. So that was a long tangent. I won't say what time we're on because I'm probably going to edit the living daylights out of this. What we're gonna get back to is, so since we were catching up with Tallulah, and she explained that she's still doing medication and it's still working for her. But yeah, how has your ADHD experience / journey been? So you have a new boyfriend since the last time we spoke. Are we allowed to mention him? Yeah. So she's got a boyfriend now, and obviously relationships and ADHD is like mad. Like, I ain't even on all that. Yeah, it's too much. But also you had started a new job when we last spoke. Remember, you'd had problems with your job. Yeah. Got a new one.
Yeah. And
so those are the two main changes.
Yeah. So now I've been fired from that job.
Excuse me.
Which.
What did you just say? Tell me about this.
Fired. It gave me the job.
And it's ADHD related.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So
we're gonna pioneer, you know, watch this space, ADHD in the workplace, #.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really good. We were talking prior to the video a bit about like ADHD in the workplace. And I think obviously it can feel like a really awkward thing with any like mental health thing to say to employees, which is a shame because obviously I think, you know, if there was a different problem, people wouldn't have an issue being open with their
it's something that you can tell, something physical or something.
Yeah, or if they could see it or whatever, but it's a lot more difficult if it's a mental health thing. But I had expressed, or I told my employers that I had ADHD, they knew that. It wasn't like discussed in depth, but
they know what ADHD. No, they probably thought.
Yeah, they probably didn't really know the ins and outs of it. And so basically, when that job ended, it's nice and simplified.
Recently, you know, guys.
Yeah, that it felt as though when we had the discussion, I'd already had issues with the fact that everybody who started working there was a new person. So I didn't really know anyone who was then working there very well. And obviously,
so you'd been there for like, well, nearly a year.
Yeah, nearly a year.
Everyone that you knew and worked with was gone.
Yeah.
And then they just started employing loads of new people apart from you.
Yeah.
So you kind of felt favoured, like, oh, they like me, they're keeping me.
Yeah, it was like, okay, cool, like I'm fine. Everyone else is gone, but I'm still here, so everything must be cool. But obviously there was the difficulty, which is the same as a lot of people with ADHD, unless in situations where I feel like I automatically know that I'll have something in common with that person or those people. Yeah,
so unless you create a level of acceptance for you and that person, you're not feeling good.
So if it's anything to do with like music stuff or like
common interest,
then I feel fine and I feel
like the interest-based nervous system.
And I feel very like at ease and confident and whatever. But if it's situations where like I feel like it's less about them and it's more that I feel like they won't understand me, or that I won't think of anything to say to them, and so that the conversation will be stunted and I'll overthink that and just not really be able to interact. And it's not even a thing necessarily about not being confident.
I think I've gone through
it's more just like I just feel like
you're preempting an awkwardness.
Yeah. And I feel awkward, like I physically feel awkward. I feel
like, oh my gosh, this is awkward, it's gonna get even awkwarder, I just leave it.
Yeah. And I even feel like my face is awkward, I feel like my body language becomes awkward, like I just feel really awkward. And so there've been issues with the fact, I'd felt there's been like issues with the fact that everyone else was new and they were getting on and like bonding and forming friendships, and I was just like there and just kind of on the outskirts and didn't really know how to like interact with them, because they weren't the kind of people I'd outside of there interact with.
This is reminding me of something.
Really?
Remind me.
Yeah.
Just say uni in a minute. This
okay.
is mad.
And so like I just didn't know how to interact with people, and so there was like a couple of times where I'd left there feeling really like pretty shit, because it felt like everybody else was like had something that I was left out of. And I think as well because it isn't necessarily a confidence thing, it is more of a awkwardness thing. Then I felt
you're being read wrong.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm a rubbish person. It's like I'm coming across wrong. I'm coming across mad.
Yeah.
I'm not being my best self. Like.
Yeah, and I think as well that people, I feel like they would look at me or have a small conversation one-on-one and think, oh, she's confident and she looks confident, so why is she not interacting?
She don't like us.
Yeah, she doesn't like us, or she doesn't want to, or she thinks she doesn't need to, or she can't be bothered.
Or she's looking down on us because she's been here long. And
whatever like reason they think, then I'd think that's how they feel and make it even worse. Anyway, basically, so then when I did get fired, one of the main like reason that they discussed was the fact that I didn't interact and gel with the rest of the group, which is something obviously I felt like they should have taken into consideration, that the fact that for me that's not, and anyone with a like obviously autism and stuff, that's like on a completely different spectrum to ADHD, almost in the opposite way.
I think it's the same spectrum, but it's just far.
Yeah, but
I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
But that same thing of like, on in a different way, but someone who was autistic would find it really difficult to interact. And even things like there at work, people always every day when they arrive and say hello to each other, they hug. To me, I wouldn't like when I see my friends and stuff, but they were people that I worked with, and that I didn't feel I had something, so it would not be natural for me to hug those people. And if I felt like you'd have to, because I'm there like oh, don't hug, and I'm literally thinking in my head like, don't try and hug me, don't try and hug me. Horrible. But and so obviously I've like moved on, and I understand that they didn't want me to work there. That sounds really like, I understand.
We're gonna have to this is just one of the reasons, like we were talking about it before, but a couple of other things come up, and unfair dismissal is like an understatement. Yeah, it's like he was trying to just, whoever they were, he or she was just trying to run everyone out that they didn't employ. But also, like we said, like you got picked on for something that is like,
is difficult for
even
me.
if that is obvious. So you saw me sitting on my own, you saw me feeling left out and excluded, and instead of trying to find a strategy to help me gel or to make me feel more part of the group, you get rid of me.
Yeah.
And you leave me
because they used the words, we'd seen you sat on your own whilst other groups interacted. And it's like, you don't need to tell me that because I already have thought about that and felt
cried
like
about that.
And, and so that's not something you now need to point out to me. That should be, if anything, a discussion that we have to try and help me feel as though I don't need to be.
Yeah, like secluded. I am part of it, yeah. But instead they're like, we don't want you anymore, and by the way, you're alone.
Yeah.
And not knowing that was something that actually bothered you that day and stuff.
I think it's, you know, if people are open,
we are gonna sort this ADHD in the workplace.
But do you, like, you know, open up and say then it is the employers are responsible for finding out what that, or at least even asking what that means and what it is that would make a difference and be easier.
It sounds so minor to people. I'm telling you, when you say to somebody, "Oh yeah, I've got ADHD," like I remember now, I know about the stigma around it because I didn't when I first got diagnosed. I didn't know much about stigma. I just knew I didn't know much about it. But when I got diagnosed and like I'd seen someone that I hadn't seen in ages, and they were like, "How are you?" And I was like having a bad day. I was like, "I've just got diagnosed with severe ADHD," and they were like, "All right."
Yeah,
so,
as if.
Like, and I'm there basically saying, it's all come to a head. I've got a brain disorder that can't be cured, and it's really blocked me, and it's really hurting me, and it's really frustrating. And they're just like, but instead I just said, I've just been diagnosed with ADHD, you know, severe combined type. They were like, all right, how's your brother? And I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, it's a big deal, but unless you say to someone like, it's as serious as this, you've got to say to someone, even an employer, like, I've got ADHD, and what that means in the workplace is boom, boom, boom. And I don't know much about it myself because I'm newly diagnosed or early, whatever, but, you know, this is an opportunity for us to work together better. Who asks this though? You sound so demanding. Yeah. But can you research it?
But that's the thing is that I always...
Can you look it up,
There
please?
is actually a thing where, like, because like after this happened, I kind of like looked at the laws. I don't know if it's an actual legal thing that they have to meet those requirements, but they're like requirements that workplaces should, the things they should do for people with ADHD. And like even one of them was that there should be like a 15-minute leeway start, like get to work and leave work time.
Wow.
Because obviously
I got a letter of concern for turning up at 9:01.
Really? Yeah, see, and
well, there was you only get a letter of concern if you took late 3 times, and one of mine was 9:01, 9:04, and 9:14. And I haven't been late basically since then because I then thought I can't let ADHD be letter of concern, but I didn't even know what you're saying.
Well, and because it's a thing as well about like pressure, because that's the thing for me. Like if I feel really pressured to arrive somewhere at dead on whatever time, that will probably make me later because I'll be like pausing and like stressing about the fact that I'm gonna be late. I'm gonna, under pressure I always think I'm gonna mess this up. Yeah. So it will
manifest.
Put even more stress on it.
And you
so they're
speak
meant
it
to
out.
give like a 15-minute leeway, leave and arrive. And like obviously it's really difficult. You're not gonna start a new job and be like, right, so I have to start between 9 and 9:15.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna be standing out.
And if I want to leave 15 minutes earlier, I will.
What I was gonna even explain, like with me in the past, nearly year, is it's a bit different. Like I went through like this whole time of like not doing videos and not blogging as much happened because of a work situation for me too, but it's kind of gone a bit of a better way. I would say. I keep feeling like I'm like jumping onto myself, but I keep realizing that when something opens the door for us to go into a good tangent, I just want to go in it. Almost a year ago as well for me, so about July, well, in June actually, a colleague of mine came up to me at a work party and asked, he'd said that he'd heard that I'd been blogging, and by this point I'd been blogging for about 6 months. Just found out I'd had ADHD, started blogging straight away, wanting to help people and wanting to just free people from the madness that I've realised I've been locked into because of ADHD and not knowing I had it. So I started blogging January. In June, my colleague came up to me and he said that, I think it was June, I might have it a bit wrong, but he said that he'd heard I'd been writing about mental health, and we don't sit next to each other anymore, but we used to. So I was like, yeah, you know, I was feeling really off and really odd and found out I had ADHD, so I started writing about it. And he asked how I was feeling, so I explained some of the things that led up to my ADHD diagnosis, and he was really interested in speaking more, so we exchanged numbers and he asked me to send all my blog posts to him so he could read them, and then me and him will meet up to talk about it because he wants to talk about it. Anyway, I didn't send them that day, but he came over to my desk a couple weeks later and was just like, oh, Penny, you never sent me the links to your blogs, can you send them? And I was like, oh, come and sit down with me right now, because I'll forget, otherwise I'll get distracted and I'll forget. So come over to my desk now. So he came over, and I was just sending, like, trying to find the links to, I was actually trying to copy all the links so I could put them into one place and send them to him. Hold on. Yeah, so I could put them into one place and send them to him. And just as I was doing it, one of the one of the directors at my work, I work in sales, one of the directors walked past, and they didn't say anything to me, but because I feel like in a sales environment you are treated differently if you haven't got money on the board, and as well, like, putting pressure on yourself to hit targets. It's not just about being treated different, but that's probably what I'm sensitive to, but also, you know, you don't want to look like you're there not selling it. That's what you're there to do. And because he was from a different department, he was sitting next to me and he was like, yeah, and I saw the director walk past and I didn't have any money on the board, or it might have been near to target day and I hadn't brought enough money. So when I saw the director walk past and instantly clocked that this is going to look mad, even though you probably wouldn't have noticed, which just does my nut, I said to him, oh, I'll send them to you, but so-and-so is walking past, can we just do this later? And then 2 days later, he committed suicide, and I literally, like, I lost my mind a little bit. Like, I felt weird but I literally had to call HR and just offload because I just felt so responsible. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, not responsible like it's my fault, because obviously he was going through his own stuff, but the fact that he had reached out to me in person, he's someone that knew me personally, and I couldn't offer him the support that I am committed to offering people online because of mental health. And I just literally lost my mind, and I got really upset. And I think in regards to where I've been since we last were here, I haven't had a desire to film or blog as much or do this in the level that I originally planned, because I felt a bit like a phony. Like, what's the point of me doing it online if my priorities in real life aren't right? And, you know, getting money up on the board is more important than sending I obviously didn't know the severity of his situation, and I didn't know he was like, I had sensed that he might have thought he had ADHD. I didn't know that he was going through his own struggles. And yeah, just feeling like this is pointless if I can't figure out what's more important, like helping people, or, you know what I mean? It made me feel like I didn't want to be at my job anymore. It made me feel like I couldn't do my job and I wasn't good at it anymore. It reminded me of other people that I'd lost, that I'd tried to block out. It went mad. It went a bit mad for me, and a few other things popped up in that same time frame that led to me going to the doctors, led to me being unable to manage my ADHD, no desire to, but also just felt like nothing was working. And then I went to the doctors, and I basically went and saw a therapist and got diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which, as we were saying earlier, it's obviously something that if I had known that that's a condition that people get, not just war heroes, then
it's true. That's the only.
Yeah, well, like we only
type of
PTSD.
person.
You think war heroes
Yeah.
have it, and then and so when I was told that I've got complex post-traumatic stress disorder, it reminded me of the fact that my ADHD specialist who diagnosed me told me to deal with trauma first because you can't deal with you can't just concentrate on incurable mental health issues when you have trauma that is blocking your perception. And basically complex post-traumatic stress disorder is just the effects of traumatic events constantly happening. And I think what I'd found is that through the loss of my colleague and it bringing up so many flashbacks of other things that I'd obviously buried, it was clear that this was blocking me from moving forward. So I think the whole theme around my little where have you been since last time is just healing, really. Just healing, dealing. And the great thing is I've got an amazing manager at my job. So unfortunately, like for you didn't have that experience. Had you had a manager like mine, shout out Michaela, had you had a manager like mine, like stuff would have changed for you. Do you know what I mean? Like she has just, like, since me being able to open up to her about ADHD, she's learnt about ADHD. She's like, she supports me. She's she's literally paving the way so that we can just have a space to like put our mental health first. Like she's like the absolute sickest, but it could have gone very wrong.
It's just such a thing that there's still, it feels embarrassing to say.
Yeah, because you feel instantly like you're less than. You're below. Like you're a liability. You're an instant liability. And I think even with me, with my relief in finding out I had ADHD, I started talking about it so quick. I didn't know it was a liability.
That's
until I started feeling like an idiot for telling people.
That's exactly.
I was like, hi, yes, I've got ADHD, so I might be a little bit ill sometimes.
And then
I realised I've shot myself in the foot.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt.
It's not like, I might feel the relief of finding out, but it's not good news.
Well, like, at first, I would literally tell every single person, and it'll be like, one of the first things I said, because I was like, oh my god, like I know why I feel like this now, and now I'm like, oh, like I'm not going to tell them because I don't want them to think this, or I'm not going to tell that person because I wouldn't want them to, or if it comes up, maybe I'll, do you know what I mean? Think like that it's maybe not the best thing to.
And we shouldn't be feeling like that.
No.
At all.
Definitely not.
Get the whole packet, because there's only about 6 in there.
And put more in my mouth like that.
I put them in like a big sandwich and just go, oh. I looked up in my mouth, I watched the film. We're gonna answer a few of the questions that was sent in when we announced that we were doing a video. Do you want to go through some of the ones on your phone?
So, this first one, what are the treatments for ADHD and how will I know if the treatments are working?
So I think we've spoke about medication a lot, and I think with doing it the natural way, it does take longer to notice the difference, but you will just notice that you're able to, I think executive function is something that I would notice it in myself the most. So executive function, I'm probably going to explain this right because I forget some of my research, but basically having the motivation to start something. So like knowing that you've got a few things to do, knowing that you want to do them, but knowing that you have to do them, shall I say, because the things you're interested in you can do. So knowing that you need to do something like make a few phone calls or go and wash the dishes or whatever, and actually remembering that the last time you did it, it was fine and you enjoyed it, but inability to go from being here to actually doing it. And I think when I've been consistently taking my supplements and I've been doing up vegan and whatever, I find that I'm like, okay, Penny, you've got to do this. Do it then. Okay, I'll do it. And I just do it. And I think that's a way to know for me. And yours, as we mentioned earlier, is your emotions aren't everywhere. I think there is no real, I mean, I guess everyone's different.
Other than medication, there's not really another treatment other than how you treat yourself and the things that you can do for yourself. There's not really another treatment that like a doctor or something can offer you, really. What are the possible side effects of different ADHD medication? Well, we touched on that a bit about if it's obviously a stimulant, it can affect your heart.
Yeah, it can give you anxiety. And you said that before, it used to affect your skin.
Oh yeah, it made my skin.
It's different for
so
everyone.
Bad. To be honest, now like where I'm on a lower dose, and I think probably my body's just got used to it, then my skin's actually okay. But again, yeah, it's different for everyone. What types of therapy may help?
Well, then what's the one that you said that you're doing?
So mine is I'm doing a therapy called psychodynamic psychotherapy, but it's not actually like for ADHD. It's more like if you've been diagnosed late, there's probably other issues as well. So it's more like
getting to the root
of other kind of problems. I don't know. I mean, I remember at the beginning I kind of asked like, could I do CBT? But my doctors were really like, no, because it doesn't work for people with ADHD at all.
Because if you're doing CBT, it's like helping you to think in a certain way that will affect your behaviour differently, I think. Yeah. I'm just saying from what doctors have said to me. And we can't just be told how to act. Where when the person gets CBT and it works, is because they're being told, how about you take this approach? How about you do this? How about you, when you're feeling like this, you do this? You can't tell us that. If that was the case, then we would be high functioning, productive all the time. But we know what to do. It's just getting it done. Let me see. Do we need to do? Exercise. Do exercise, sleep, and diet.
Make a difference.
Yeah. So definitely. All of them.
Yeah, all of them.
When you've got ADHD, exercise helps because it's an outlet for your energy.
Again, though, even for me, like doing any exercise, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, so unless you've got that, but then it's an interest based thing. So
if you can find a way that you're interested.
The day that I share this, I'll share my blog post about diet as well, how nutrition benefits.
What do I need to know about? We've done.
What is executive function? We've explained that. And the last one was just what's the difference between ADD? This is all by Ashlyn, by the way. Thanks, Ashlyn. But what's the difference between ADD and ADHD? So ADD isn't a term that's used anymore, but it's more common in America. Yeah. Because America identified the differences. So there's two different types. There's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, that's what it's called. But some people only have hyperactivity and some people only have attention deficit, so they say. And they make it out that people with ADHD can't pay attention to anything. But it's just that we can pay attention to too many things at once, and sometimes we can't give attention to anything that we're not interested in. Yeah. Even if it's important, like paying bills and stuff. ADD is when they're only identifying the attention deficit side, but that person isn't showing hyperactive tendencies like a young person in school would be. But everybody with ADHD has hyperactivity on the inside, and I think that's been kind of identified, and that's why ADD. I don't think that's why, really but I'm just putting like the two and two together and saying, you know, they probably know what we know, which is that even if you don't express your ADHD outwardly, your hyper side, you do inwardly, and that includes overthinking, over worrying,
and just like racing thoughts and
stuff.
And
all sorts of fun stories at once.
I was recently diagnosed. How do I best manage my up and down moods without medication?
Same. So there's supplements that provide dopamine and serotonin and the chemicals that we need to show us that we're not sad.
I think as well, just not being as, like for me, one of the main things.
Cutting out sugar, sorry.
Yeah, that is a good one. But like just not being as hard on myself. Like if I do react in a certain kind of way that I,
like if your mood does change.
Yeah, would have then been really disappointed with myself because I'd shown my emotions in that instance where I hadn't wanted to or whatever. Not then beating myself up about it, kind of just being like, okay, well, is how I acted in that instance, and I can just move on from it. Yeah,
and not making yourself feel like that's a whole character flaw.
Yeah, and not then, because then I think then that's how then it becomes worse
and
worse.
Telling people about your ADHD, the people that you know you're close to, so that you don't have to. Yeah, explaining to people what ADHD is and how it affects you will help you not have to explain your moods all the time. But obviously, managing them, you're just gonna have to kind of. Do all the precautions that prevent triggers.
Yeah.
So that's another blog post I've got.
I feel like I might have ADHD, but I don't know what the best way to tell my parents is. I'm not very open with my parents. How do you think I could approach the topic with them? I think really
Ask them.
just,
Ask them.
yeah.
If you think you've got ADHD, just explain to your parents. I think explain to your parents where you think you're struggling, where ADHD sounds like the thing that you think it is, why you think you've got ADHD and how you found out, and just asking them to take you.
And to be honest, if you have got ADHD, they are also probably, if they spend time with you and around you, are also probably wondering what it is that's going on with you.
And it's hereditary, so they could have it. Like, they could notice some of the similarities in themselves and think, do you know what, this is hereditary, can be hereditary.
Yeah.
But
it's probably, you know, characteristics or like attributes that they have
struggled
with on your behalf.
They've had to deal with.
Had to deal with you acting
so
that
it might
way.
actually be a relief for them to know that you know,
you've
noticed them
and
too.
And you're taking responsibility of how you feel and how you behave. In terms of finding out about your ADHD, how did you guys manage to get diagnosed? Is there a test? Did you ask for one when you went to the NHS?
Yeah, so I got told by a private doctor that I have ADHD, and he told me to get my doctor to refer me to an ADHD or autism specialist, and that's how I got diagnosed. But in the meantime, the waiting can be like 6 months, and I did all my research to the extent where I knew that this is what I'm dealing with. So, yeah. But beware of misdiagnoses, because a lot of people who suffer with ADHD also have high levels of anxiety and can go through a lot of depressive stages and seem depressed, and a lot of people compare it to bipolar, and you know it's got similar traits to PTSD. So just make sure you do a lot of research and really pinpoint why you think
that is what that's because I got misdiagnosed before, and I never thought that it would have been ADHD when I knew that there was something, but I was misdiagnosed a couple of times. And I think to do is because there is so many ways that you can research stuff, but and to like read about all of the things, because there are so many, like bipolar is very similar, and obviously and depression and anxiety are both symptoms of ADHD. So to really work out, how do you cope with ADHD when you're in a relationship with a partner who does or doesn't have it?
I'll leave that to you, hon.
I mean, if it was sometimes I do think that my boyfriend has ADHD attributes. He's quite like me in terms of like, he'll have loads of ideas for different like creative, he's really creative as well, but like creative things that he wants to do, and then actually like starting one of them is like, you know,
so
it just doesn't happen. Yeah. But he doesn't have ADHD. He just has kind of like some similar attributes. But I think just being as like completely open and honest, that he knows everything about ADHD and how it affects me and how I might behave sometimes and how I might behave with medication, without it.
That's lovely.
And he like literally
that
every
is such an honour,
thing.
by the way. If anyone's watching this and there's anyone in their life with ADHD, do up that research, because it is such a relief.
It feels like it does. If when
it's like it could be a love language. My love language. Research. Research
literally,
me. I've got all this going on, please.
But that's the thing, that when it's, because I do like still like, you know, make jokes, or if I do like, I don't know, mess something up, or you know, he's forever like saying to me, I'm doing this on whatever day. I will have no idea what day he's doing what or whatever, and I'll have to ask about 1,000 times, or like, I've had to like write down and save everywhere when his birthday is, because like.
Do you know off by heart now?
Now I do, but only because it's 17th of June.
I hope it is.
No, but I've actually like got a thing where it says like how many days until his birthday.
Oh my gosh, one of those timers.
Yeah, because otherwise.
You know, people have them for their holiday.
Yeah, I've got one for his birthday. So Henry's birthday.
Since 67 days. The countdown begins. She's gonna be tallying on her wall like she's coming out of bed.
Luckily, he just knows, and so he knows how to like deal with it. Because one of the main things, though, which is an interesting thing, like that I had to speak to him about and say to him, like, can you deal with this in a different way, is if I am, say, in a like hyper-focused state, sometimes I don't, because to me, I'm so interested in what it is that I'm doing or talking about or looking for or whatever, I'll be so interested and into it, I won't realise that for him, it might be so boring, or he might have like moved on. So like, and then before he was kind of then going to me like almost like getting annoyed, because it was like I'd have been just talking about that one thing for an hour or whatever, and so he would then get annoyed, and then to get me out of if I'm hyper focused and someone gets me out of it or tries to get me out of it in a way, in like a negative
come on, let's
way,
change the subject.
yeah, I feel like heartbroken. Like I'm like, so then the rejection dysphoria comes in, and I'm just like, I can't
and
do
then
it.
the emotion dysregulation, and then it all
so
kicks
all
off.
over the place. So I said to him, like, if that happens, maybe just like nicely say, oh babe, why don't
we pay interest to other things?
Yeah, or just like distract me.
We're on day 19, Tallulah.
No, but like the other day I was trying to find him a photo of like my great grandmother, and I knew that it was online on Facebook somewhere, like one of my other aunties had posted it, but I didn't know which auntie had posted it, and I didn't know how long ago. I was literally sat for like 3 hours being like, no, but I know it's somewhere. And obviously he was like, I don't care. And then when he said to me,
you don't care about my dad.
When he said to me he didn't care, I was like, oh my god, like what? Like I was so like, but that's the thing. So like that was one thing we spoke
that's
about.
actually cute. Even the way you just said what, then I was like, if I was him, I'd be like, jokes. I'm joking. Go on, find it. I meant, I didn't care if it was colour or black and white.
But like now that I've pointed that one thing out to him, he does know how to like deal with that better.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to like be super honest.
See, I wouldn't even like, even the way you've just said that, I wouldn't even notice that that's happened.
Yeah.
Like if someone said, I don't actually care, I'd be like, oh. And I'd just be so embarrassed, I would be like trying to change subject. I wouldn't even think.
But that's again you being introverted thing, and me being like outwardly.
Yeah, like mine goes into myself, like and you're. Do you know what I mean?
I think
like,
I didn't speak to him for the next like hour or something. So I was like,
wow, I would have just thought, I'm so boring. I've just ruined his day. Like, oh man, I've wasted all his time. He's never getting that back. Where you just be like,
I hate
excuse
it.
me, she gave birth to my mum. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, this is the last one. ADHD can be as good as bad, as much as it can control our lives. It can be a powerful tool. How can we best do this?
I think that's all part of the managing it.
Yeah.
Like just managing your triggers. This is an ideal world, but working towards doing a job that you actually love and enjoy.
Yeah, I was going to say that if you know what it is you like doing, and there's things that, you know, are productive things or like healthy things or work-wise things that you actually enjoy, just finding those and trying to do those, because then you actually can focus on them and you can do them well.
Exactly, because you've got an interest-based nervous system. So it sounds like, so people with ADHD just decide that they only want to pay attention to what they're interested in. That's where the best of us comes out. Obviously, everyone wants to do stuff they're interested in, but some people are good at stuff that they're not genuinely interested in. Like, that's hard for us to, like, fathom. I'm good at things, but if my hyper-focus on that thing leaves, no one will know I'm good at it.
Yeah.
Like, I could get hyper-focused on something, realise I'm sick at it, and when I lose interest, no one even know that's a talent or skill that I've got.
Yeah.
It's like, do you know what I mean? So I think to bring the best out of your ADHD, you need to learn to love your brain. And I think that's just because you need to them quirks that you've noticed and those things about ADHD that are good, you need to talk about them, you need to celebrate them, and be comfortable talking to people about ADHD. But then, you need to do some more of the things that make you feel that it's good. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, that sounds like I've just fobbed it off, but like we said, like if you're creative, then you know, get creative and do something with that, because you feel so fulfilled
Yeah.
that you won't have the frantic, like, we procrastinate and we put things off and we let people down and we seem like a flake and we feel like we ruin everything for ourselves. So the low self-esteem is mad at times. But if you do things that you're interested in, you're going to excel in them, and it's going to boost your morale, it's going to make you feel good about yourself, and then all those things that you know deep down inside are great things about ADHD, you'll be seeing that.
Yeah,
You'll be so proud of your of yourself. And then when you do have to do something mundane that you're not really into, you just like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Because I'm giving loads of good energy to the things that I love anyway, so I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
And stimulated. Because we're always searching for stimulation. Another thing about ADHD is we have an understimulated brain, so we're always going to be searching for stimulation. So stay stimulated, Hans.
Stay stimulated.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing it, because I know you're going to think, so-and-so would love to watch this. Young Susan, she's been all over the place. But thank you so much for watching and for sending in questions and for sharing. Should have said this before, but please do share this with anyone that you think might benefit. Anybody that resonates with anything that we said. And even if you resonate and you want people to understand a little bit more, share it with them. Yeah. And this will be with you before April ends, because we're on it, and I haven't edited for ages, and I'm going to enjoy it. But also, we are going to do more stuff together, including a couple videos for Mental Health Awareness Month. So I know it's only the week of the 13th of May, I think, but we're going to, like I did last year, 31 Days of Loving Your Brain. We'll do something similar, and we'll get a couple of videos in, even if, we've got loads of topics that we almost went off on, and we were just like, this could be a separate video. So we will do another Q&A as well. So what we're going to leave you with, and in great high functioning ADHD fashion, we're going to stick to it, is we'll have another 2 videos minimum for you for May. So send your questions in so we can include them if we need to. Anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, just share, and for the girl who asked how to approach parents, you could always send this video to parents.
Voila!
Voila!
Bye. This was like Teletubbies. Bye bye.